Okay, so we are going to do a sort of rebuild on this car because it needs motor bearings, it needs a steering rack, which is down there, and I've done the lower arms on it, but it's had some front end noises and it's done 116,000 miles, and I've got some drop links, and I thought this was an interesting opportunity. I kind of want to do the drop links anyway because they're not that difficult to do. And I've kind of done everything else, so while you're there, just do it. But an interesting comparison, because sort of by accident, I've basically ended up with two different brands of drop link. And this Delphi or Delphi one, however you want to pronounce it, so this is, according to what it says on GSF website, this is the original equipment supplier. So what they're saying is this would come on your vehicle from the factory, or if you go to the dealer and buy the parts or get your vehicle repaired at the dealer, this is what you would have fitted. That's what it says. And then this DriveTech one is a GSF own brand, so they've made it, but it says it is original equipment quality. So as far as they're concerned, that is as good as this one, as good as what would come on the vehicle. So it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, first impressions, this one comes in a massive box and this one comes in a lot smaller box. Whether that's any indication of the quality, we'll find out in a second. And just for reference, this is a Renault Zoe. It's a 2016, and these are the part numbers, if you can read it, hopefully. Yeah. And then the other one, they're not massively different in price, is the most interesting thing. They're not mega expensive, these, but yeah, it was just at the time I bought them, they didn't have two of these, because I try and tend to stick to better stuff, and ended up actually not needing them on that vehicle, and now I've got them, so they're going on this one, and I would say it's really tempting to buy the cheapest parts you can, okay, especially if you're working on your vehicle at home. You're sort of like, oh, you know, this one's only 25 and the next one's 40 sort of thing. You're like, oh, you know, but just take a step back and think about it for a second, especially if you're working on it yourself. This might be a job that's going to cost hundreds of pounds for a mechanic to do. You're doing it for tens of pounds, so you're already saving a lot of money. You're putting your own time into it. You may be doing it in the evening when you've been at work. You might be doing it at the weekend, and that is quite valuable time. You know, you could be spending that time with the family, you could be doing something a little bit more fun. Okay, you may enjoy working on your car, but if you have a problem with a cheap part, I'm not saying I'm going to with this one, but other brands from other places, I have had issues with their sort of own brand, especially the sort of cheaper, real cheap end own brand. At one point, I couldn't get a lower arm for a Zoe, and it needed doing for an MOT. So the only one I could get was a real sort of cheap brand, and basically the bolt wouldn't go through the hole because it hadn't been manufactured correctly. I'll see if I can dig out the video for that. But yeah, so it's just such a pain in the backside. If you have a problem with a part and you have to go back, or it doesn't last as long, it's not worth a few quid. You know, just treat yourself. Just kind of, you know, just invest in your own time, I guess, and just yeah, it's not a saving to save a few quid on cheap parts. Because you might then spend longer having to go back, and yeah, you could be doing something more fun with that time. So yeah, anyway, this is going to be fun. Should we get these out and have a look? I have to do this one-handed, so apologies, we're going to be fumbling around a little bit, but we'll see if we can work out why the box is so much bigger. So, oh, he's dropped it. Spectacular. Right, so there we are. So it's got these plastic things on it. Let's get the other one out and compare. So is the box massive because it's got plastic things on it? I don't know. Let's have a look at this one. So let's just put that down so we can put that on the top. Right, let's get this out as well. Apologies. One-handed. Right. Spectacular. So, yeah, kind of initial thoughts. If you look at the size of that, and the size of that, it's not just the fact that it's closer. Can I get this rubber bit off? I'm going to have to take this in. One moment. Let's just take this bit off. can have a proper look at this. Right, so let's put that next to each other. So I mean, yeah, initially, not great location with the light. Just initially looking at that, this one is considerably bigger than that one, and they are they're not really common drop links on these Zoes, but they are a bit of a weak point. And bearing in mind the costs of these was very similar. I mean, okay, they're saying it's the same quality, but well, that one's a lot bigger. Obviously I haven't done any rigorous testing, but it's got a ball joint in there and one's substantially bigger than the other. So yeah, that looks the same. But yeah, so I guess that thread's the same. But yeah, that is considerably bigger. So yeah, we'll see how they go on. They're an interesting fit. These, you sort of put an Allen key in the middle and then spanner over the top. So like ring spanner over the Allen key. They're not that difficult to do. The old ones, it's not uncommon you have to cut them off. Sometimes you can loosen it a bit and then the bolt goes mega tight. And because it's just an Allen key in there, it just rounds off in there. So there can be a bit of a faff. But yeah, so I've ended up sometimes having to sort of cut down the middle just to like loosen the bolt basically, and then it comes off. So there can be a bit of a pain in the backside, to be honest. But yeah, that one's definitely bigger. That's the initial thoughts. I guess let's see if there's any difference with them going on. All right, catch you in a mo. Okay, so just a little view of where these are and how they get fitted. So this drop link part is here between the sort of shock tower and down onto that anti-roll bar. So this is the fitting. So you basically put your spanner. So this is a 17. I have noticed with the different brands of these, the sizes of things vary a little bit. I've taken them off sometimes with one spanner and then you go to put it back on, it's a different size. And then this is a H5. I recently got these, which is really cool. I was using Allen keys and it's just like, you just get fed up at some point with NAF tools. And I picked up these sort of, so this is a 3/8 adapter and this is a H5. And then that goes in there basically. So with anything, something that I've kind of just worked out just through a little bit more experience is, yeah, okay, you've got to turn these two bits against each other. But before you start, just put it on there and turn it, because sometimes you put so much force into trying to turn the two bits against each other. Just turn one of them just to free things up a little bit. Similar with these. So you've obviously got to do one side against the other side, but especially if you're working with hand tools, you know, just make it a little bit easier for yourself. Just put a spanner on here or the socket or whatever you're using and just turn this in. Just get the whole thing to rotate. Because if you're putting a spanner on here and a socket on here and trying to undo it, you're trying to rotate this in here, which is going to be a little bit seized up. Plus you're trying to undo it off here. So you're trying to kind of do everything at once. Plus if you strip this, if you round this off, then you've got problems. So just make it a little bit easier for yourself. I mean, you could start with this end, whatever's easier, because this has kind of got a bigger, you know, bigger area of contact kind of thing. So yeah, just make it a little bit easier. Just do one end at once. So I've literally just done on here. I've just done this end, and it's actually coming off like that quite nicely. And I did also clean these up and put spray oil on them yesterday. So I've got one of these brushes, which I probably need to get another one, but it works really well. So just give that thread a blooming good clean up, spray it, and then come back next day, and then it just makes everything a lot easier. So I've had these before, sort of as I mentioned before, where you sort of half undo them and then they kind of lock up. But yeah, I'm going to keep on doing that. At some point it's going to start rotating that, the inner, and rotating the actual ball joint, and I'll get that off and yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, cool. Okay, so got the old ones off. So it's hard to get these to balance at the same angle, but you can see the one that's come off the vehicle there. Then there's the Delphi one. And then there's the pattern own brand one there. And yeah, it's not like the Delphi one is bigger than the original. Yeah, it is. The other one is smaller. The pattern one is smaller. I mean, maybe it will last as long. I don't know. It's actually quite interesting if you look at this end. If I just get these to all be upstanding. So you can see that these two, the one that's come off the vehicle and then the Delphi one, have got that real chunky metal bit around the thread there, and then that pattern one is a lot thinner. So they say it's as good quality. It doesn't look as substantial, does it? Would it last as long? We don't know. I mean, these aren't massively expensive parts. Yeah, these are not that difficult to swap. But yeah, it's still, you know, it's still time, and And if there's not much difference in price, you know, I know which one I'll be going for. So I'm not sure I totally believe this is as good as the original, because it doesn't look as substantial. Yeah, I'm going to get these on and see how they go on anyway. But yeah, we shall see. All right, cool. Catch you in a bit. Okay, so they're both on. Both went on absolutely fine. No issues with fitment. I think their sort of dimensions were the same in terms of, you know, the sort of how long they are, and the sort of fixings and things were all the same. I have had it before with this job where the sort of the disc kind of lowers, the kind of distance between the strut there and the anti-roll bar gets a little bit bigger, and then you have to kind of push the disc up with a jack. But that didn't happen. They're both just literally off and strap back on again. Probably because I've learned if you leave it, that can happen. So yeah, just take off and strap back on, and all torqued up and everything. So that's absolutely fine. The one of them did seize up, so it kind of did what it normally what I've had before, where it starts to undo and then it kind of locks up as this thread gets worse. It's more corroded at the end. Then the bolt undoes and then it locks up when it gets near the end, so I had to cut that off, and then that just basically just expands that a little bit and then just allows it to come off. Then I kind of basically jab a screwdriver in there, and then with the spanner on there that comes off. So I've seen that before, so no massive surprise. But yeah, so I can probably stick with my original what I thought really, which is if there's not much difference, or if you can get the sort of top ones, just do it. You know, there is obviously a difference between them. They say it's tested and all good and stuff, but yeah, I have had issues with pattern sort of own brand parts before. Having said that, I've fitted a lot of own brand parts and not had issues with them. But yeah, I would always fit the best kind of parts you can get available, because otherwise you could have an issue, especially if you're working on a Saturday. You might get the parts, go home, you're trying to do it, you've got an issue with it, you go back, it's then closed or whatever, or, you know, yeah, you could be enjoying yourself. So, yes, I would say if that's all you can get, you know, whatever own brand it is, then fine. But yeah, if you can stick with the original, their claim of it's as good as the OEM one, I'm not totally convinced. We kind of can see that it's mechanically different. Interestingly, this vehicle's obviously got two different brands fitted, because you can kind of, it's a bit more difficult because it's dirty, but this one is chunkier than that one, which is interesting. They've obviously been replaced at different times. The side that's the sort of curb side, near side that bumps through drains and things, I think it gets more potholes at the edges of the road, so it tends to suffer on the suspension on that side. So yeah, I hope that's interesting. Let me know what you think. Obviously different own brands are available, so maybe some are better than others, yeah, let me know what you think. All right, cheers, catch you later.